What's up, everybody? I'm Lisa.
And I'm Lonie.
And this is
A Whole Mom.
A Whole Mom is dedicated to those of us who deal with the everyday struggles of adulting, in addition to being a whole mom. So, what's up this week, friend?
Not much. Today was a busy day. I'm exhausted. I'm okay, though.
Exhausted, like sleepy, or exhausted,
I am
like
sleepy.
Okay, not
Mostly
like emotionally drained though.
Maybe a little bit.
I feel that.
Mostly sleepy.
Okay, I accomplished things today.
She always make me look bad.
No, because I did not accomplish everything I needed to accomplish at all. But I accomplished some things.
Let's celebrate.
Yeah. I did the things I had to do.
Okay. That's great.
Sort of.
Because that's most days for me. Kind of.
Yeah. But anyway. So I thought of a question that I wanted to ask you.
She's always trying to give me pop quizzes.
So March is co-parenting month for a whole mom.
Yay.
So we're going to be discussing many different topics regarding co-parenting and how, to live harmoniously. Maybe. I don't know. But it
how
also,
to navigate.
Right. And just sharing some of our own personal experiences. The good, the bad, and the struggly. So with that being said, I have a co-parenting question. Mm-hmm. We are both single parents. Mm-hmm. We've discussed this already. Mm-hmm. So if you received let's say phone call so you know that, your child's other parent is dating. Mm-hmm. You receive a phone call from said woman who is dating him. Mm-hmm. And she says, hey, things are getting serious. I'd really like to meet you.
Oh, okay.
That's your response?
Okay. I mean, I say okay because I don't have a problem with that.
Yes.
But also, what has been the conversation between me and the other parent?
That's what I was getting at.
She can't. I'm yelling. She can't just contact me.
That's what I was
without the other person. That doesn't make sense.
Right. What if she was just like, oh, hey, I'd like to meet up for lunch or something with
you.
Who
are you? And for real, honestly, that's me. Like, who are you? Because I feel like if they have not shared with me, like, oh, I'm getting serious about this person, like it's going here.
Right.
I don't take people seriously unless they say.
So if she said, I'd like to meet up with you for lunch, I feel like things are getting serious. I've been wanting to meet you.
What does such and such have to say about
So what does he think about that?
Yeah.
Okay. What if she's like, well, I've been trying to tell him that I want to meet you, but he just doesn't want to do it.
I'm telling.
I'm telling.
I'm like, hey, I talked to such and such, and she wants to have lunch, dinner, whatever. What are your thoughts on that? What's up?
Okay. So you're getting him involved.
But that's just like the relationship that we have.
I also feel that. Because that would be awkward as hell.
Oh, I don't care.
I feel like that would be awkward for her to call and say, hey, I'm trying to meet you. He don't want me to meet you.
What is his reasoning for not wanting
Exactly. Because I feel like there's obviously a reason that he's not down for that. So,
like, sis, you better stay in your lane.
Yes. It sounds like y'all need to have a conversation before you try to have a conversation with me.
Right. Don't overstep your boundaries.
Right.
Okay. I mean, I don't mind meeting these other people.
Right. I love meeting people. Well, let's not say love. But I would like to participate in meeting them.
Right. I think that's important, especially if this other person is going to be around your kid.
Right.
They're getting serious. Okay. So yeah, what's the word I'm looking for? It's just
necessary.
Yeah, that's necessary, but it's inappropriate for her to contact me without having that conversation with him.
So you would be kind, though.
I would definitely be kind. Because I'm a kind person.
Would you be like, I think you guys should discuss that?
Yes.
Or I'm going to talk to him about it?
Exactly. Let me see what he thinks. Or just asking her, well, what have you guys discussed?
Yeah.
Because we should probably all be meeting together.
Yeah, and we should probably all be on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
About what y'all's relationship is.
Yeah.
Don't involve me, sis.
Because I feel like that would be a little shady.
Okay.
What's the goal? What would be the goal?
Right.
Of us meeting without his knowing. And don't try to cause no discord over here, because we good, sis.
We don't want no drama.
I don't want no parts in the drama.
Okay.
Okay.
I had another question, but I'm not going to ask it.
Go ahead. It's too personal.
Yeah.
Too close to home.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I didn't realize it when I was formulating my head, but I was like, oh, this actually happened. So let's just mind our business.
Okay, let's just grin. You done had some situations.
All right. Okay, today.
Co-parenting. So, I want to read for you guys what the definition that I found. That I feel like is appropriate.
Okay, so let's define co-parenting.
So, originally, the term co-parenting was coined to describe a parenting relationship in which two parents of a child are not romantically involved.
Makes sense.
But still assume joint responsibility for the upbringing of the child.
Makes sense.
Okay. Then it goes further to say that occasionally social scientists also use the term to describe any two people who are jointly raising a child, regardless of whether or not they are both biological parents or have been romantically linked. So like a single mom raising a child with the help of their own mother. But more often than not, co-parenting occurs following like a separation, a breakup of romantic partnership.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think, in asking people like, how do you define co-parenting? A lot of people felt like, okay, well, these two parents that are living in separate households. However, you and I have had the conversation about you can be married and living in the same household and you're still co-parents because you're like co-pilots, right?
Right.
They use that term sometimes.
Right.
And so you're still sharing equal responsibility.
Right. I think, for me, I think the term co-parenting, maybe it's not necessary, but I'm going to say necessary. Mm-hmm. I feel like the term co-parenting is necessary because a lot of times people, in my experience, assume that fathers are not as involved. Mm-hmm. And so most of the time, mothers are looked at as primary parents or like the lead parent or like the one that does the parenting.
Right.
And dad just kind of shows up. Mm-hmm. And so to call, people parenting together, whether or not they're in a romantic relationship, co-parents, I think is important because it gives dad some credit too, but also like that power.
So like you said, they don't have to feel like
they're not involved or they're pushed to the side or they're like the secondary parent, right? Because I feel like this generation of dads, in my opinion, is very involved,
right?
In the day-to-day and all of the things, like much more so than in the past. Not to say that those dads weren't present, because there's this, stereotype that we were all raised without dads, which is true for some of us, but that they weren't as involved in the day-to-day because the gender roles have evolved over time. Right.
So dads were working.
Yeah.
Mom was more so the homemaker, or maybe mom was working and she came home and did all of these things. So
because even as times changed and women went into the workforce, they were still expected to keep a house.
Women's History Month.
Women's History Month. Shake your booty.
We are awesome. We the shit.
Say that again.
We the shit.
Period.
Let's just be honest.
Yeah. Okay. Just pause for women for a second. Okay. But yeah, so I think saying co-parenting means that like we're all involved here.
Right. So that also, you know, I think when we're dealing with like divorces, separations,
Right.
breakups and things like that, that means that the parents are putting aside those personal differences.
Yes.
And it's solely about raising the child.
Yeah.
And I think the more like you take the emotions and things like that out of it, it's a lot easier to parent with your I'm gonna call them a partner. Like,
yeah,
that's your
partner.
partner. Yeah.
I do think, okay, this is what I'm gonna say. This has been my experience. That the things that potentially led to your breakup or the issues that you had in your relationship can sometimes still cause problems in your co-parenting relationship.
Absolutely.
So, you know, whether it's the way that you speak to me or, you know, you're a hothead or whatever, you never want to admit you're wrong or you think you're perfect. All those kinds of things can still come into play often.
Right.
So what's really important before we even get into all this stuff in a lot of cases is that you still have to address those things.
Yeah.
Whereas in other relationships, you can break up with that person and just go live the rest of your life and never think about them again in their like horrible ways. Like if you're co-parenting with someone, you still have to address to an extent all the issues
from the breakup.
Yeah. The issues from your relationship.
And you have to deal with those things in order to co-parent effectively.
Yes, successfully.
Because, you know, definitely in my experience like that, almost cussed. Like it was rough in the beginning. And so like there's so many emotions and things like that involved. And, you know, like over time, I definitely had to check and reevaluate myself. Like, what type of example am I setting for my child and different things like that. And so I guess I'll share more later on that. Like with my co-parenting partners, like I actually lived with one. The other one, we were teen parents. And, you know, so there were definitely two totally different situations there.
Two very different experiences.
Yes, from two very different men. But yeah, like it's a journey. It really is. But I'm really appreciative for like where we are now and the work that we put in.
Girl.
So.
'Cause
it's hard.
It is.
It's really hard out here.
Co-parenting is. It's work, but it's also something that could be so seamless and beautiful if you like do it right.
Right.
Because there are built-in breaks.
Girl.
Like, you know that on this day and this day, you are kid-free. And that could be beautiful.
Or even if being able to say, oh, I'm having a rough day. I cannot. Can you? And so when you have that good co-parenting relationship, like you guys are able to be there for each other, like emotionally, like, okay, like she's having a bad day. He's having a bad day.
Right.
Let me go get this little chat.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're not, right now, they can't be around each other. So they need a break from each other.
Yeah.
So let me go get my kid.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong. I feel like we're coming at this from a very positive point of view. And everyone's experience is not super positive. Some people continue to have toxic relationships with the person they're co-parenting with. And whose fault it is doesn't really matter.
Right.
It just remains toxic. So,
yeah,
we get that happens. I don't want nobody to be watching this like,
oh, girl, shut up. Right. But, you know,
that's not really.
We'll get down to the dirty, struggly, nitty gritty later. But like just speaking on kind of like where we are now. One thing that I was listening to this lady one day, she's a therapist, and she was talking about co-parenting with a toxic partner. first of all, recognize, are you the toxic? What are your toxic qualities?
Right.
And working on those. We all have them.
Most of the time, if you're involved with a toxic person, you have some level of toxicity in your
right.
soul.
and then, you know, like I get this thing where, people like overuse toxic. So if you don't want to say toxic, unhealthy. Okay. So figure out what unhealthy patterns and qualities you possess. Mm-hmm. Deal with yourself, because you cannot control this other person. So that was the thing. Like, you can't control this other person, and you cannot control what goes on in their household. And so you have to just make sure for your household, you are providing that structure or whatever it is that your child needs from you.
Right.
I think that you can model by really paying attention to how you respond to the other parent. Mm-hmm. And that's just, kind of the way that I have gone about doing it. But of course, like, there have been times these kids have heard me, like, we're either yelling face to face or like on the phone.
Yeah. What does that mean?
Going off.
Facts. Oh, that's your going.
And I'm gonna say this because this was like kind of a turning point, and this was when I was still with one of my son's fathers. So we used to watch Love and Hip Hop. I don't watch those shows anymore because my son was like, "That looks like you and Daddy."
Oh God.
Like, every time these people would like get to arguing on the TV, and he's like, "Oh my, that looks like you and my dad. That's you and my dad right there." And I'm like, "Oh my God."
Oh wow.
And I would tell him, I was like, "Did you hear what he just said?"
Out of the mouths of babes.
He said this. And so at some point we had to say, okay, enough is enough. Like, and we didn't even really at that point like change how we were communicating. We just split. Mm-hmm. After several back and forth, but yeah, that was a turning point. And then we'll also talk more about this later, like how your interactions with your partner, your co-parenting partner, the effect that has on the kids. And so, like, the type of trauma that you are putting your own kids through because of those interactions. And so I've definitely like had to apologize to my kids, like, gosh, like,
I win.
There was a point in your life where I was really angry, and I am so sorry for the way that I acted. And of course, like they're past it, and they're like, like, it is what it is type thing. Not that it's okay,
right?
But it is what it is. So I appreciate them for being understanding, but they will all also roast you when they get together. Jay, do you remember that time? You remember that time Mom did such and such? I'll be like, all right now, watch how you say that, because the way you saying it sounds like you can't say that to everybody. He's just trying to speak his truth.
Right.
Okay. So my question is, what would you like for co-parenting to look like?
Well, one, I think ideally I would like for us to be on one accord. Mm-hmm. I think that, so my ideal co-parenting relationship looks like us being on one accord. Mm-hmm. As far as like parenting style, mm-hmm. what is appropriate, mm-hmm. rules, like consistency across the board. So no matter what household they're in, mm-hmm. there's consistency, what they're eating, all the sugar intake, mm-hmm. All of the things. But also, it just made me think about, what's her name? Sexologist Shamira's definition for that's her Instagram, Sexologist Shamira. Her definition for intimacy. Mm-hmm. Which I don't need an intimate relationship with my co-parenting partner, but her definition of intimacy is feeling seen, feeling heard, and feeling valued. Okay. And I feel like those are important tenements in any mm-hmm. relationship, mm-hmm. because I guess there is some level of intimacy, right? It's not physical intimacy, obviously, but you need to feel heard when you're discussing issues that are affecting the kids. You need to feel seen as a human being, as a part of this dichotomy. And then you need to feel valued in like the things that you think are important. That was the one that I really thought of, because like there are often times where in my personal co-parenting relationship where our values don't necessarily align.
Right.
And so that leads to a clash. But that leads to problems.
Yes.
So having consistency, having that alignment, feeling respected.
Yes.
And having communication. Honestly, all the things that are important in any relationship. Yeah.
Respectful, healthy relationship.
Yes. It needs to be a healthy relationship. Like, we have to acknowledge that we're going to be in this relationship for the long haul.
We're in this for life.
Yeah. Like, even if we, maybe we don't even necessarily like each other. We have to respect the fact that we have these children together. And so we need to proceed accordingly.
Right. And so that takes a level of maturity.
Yes.
A level of self-evaluation, self-awareness, accountability, and responsibility, because all of those things that you said, you're going to model those things for your kids. And so that healthy relationship ultimately molds a healthy child. And so for me, that is the goal. Like, I want my kids to feel like, like I had a positive experience with my parents. Like, even though they did not end up together, like, they love each other, they respect each other, and that's what I saw.
Yeah. I don't need my kids to think I love that fool, but I think I get what you're saying, though. Yeah, that's important. Like, just for them to have a positive childhood and not feel like they came from a broken home, right?
Or to feel like they have to pick sides.
Not to feel like they have to pick sides, and also not to feel like they missed out on something. Because I remember, I think I was in like first grade when my parents got divorced, but a lot of people's parents were still together. And so, me being the practical child that I was, I just felt like I was missing out on the riches of having two incomes in my household. But there were still like other things too that I was like, such and such can do that because their dad can pick them up or whatever.
Right.
I
feel like my kids take full advantage of having two parents that are not together. They try to play the hell out of us.
Yeah, they will do that.
And me? What did your dad say?
Period.
Did you ask your dad? Or, now everybody has phones, so we have group chats. Send it to the group. Okay? If not, if you send something to one individual parent, I'm going to ask the other parent, what are you doing? And then, like, it's like you're causing conflict, because I have had my kids, I'm going to say email, but text both of us individually. Now, why you didn't just send it to the group?
Sneaky.
What you want?
These kids sneaky. My kids, they know what pushes the other parent's buttons about the other parent.
Yes.
So they'll like come up in here and be like, all we had was some oodles and noodles when we was with Daddy. And I be like, what?
Them kids be eating 3 times.
Yes. All we had was some oodles and noodles. And I be like,
look, mine, well, I did have Chipotle earlier. Texas Roadhouse, like, they be out to eat, and I'm just like, so how many dinners are you gonna eat?
Facts. All these kids want to do is eat. Can we talk about that? They got tapeworms or something.
This is meal number 3 after 5 o'clock.
Oh, girl,
what in the world?
So over. But yeah, that's how they know.
These damn kids.
I think they also, they figure out like what's your role?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Which parent are you?
Yes.
Right? And then they play to that.
Mm-hmm. So it's funny that you say that. So at one point, probably not too long ago, I was feeling like, oh, I can take the back seat, like I can chill and relax.
Where was chilling?
That changed quickly. And it's so funny because I was having a conversation with one of my kids' fathers last week, and I was like, my kids know what to come to me for and what to go to their dads for, and that's just what it is. So,
definitely know.
You know, I call myself the administrator.
Period.
They know that mom is going to get A, B, C, and D done.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, mom, can you make sure I get this or I get that? Mm-hmm. Can you sign this paper? Mm-hmm. I mean, it'd be simple.
Girl, we got a such and such at school. Can you, I'll be like,
where's your dad?
Ask him.
But it's so funny to see that, or like I'll communicate with the other parent and they're like, they didn't say anything to me about that.
Exactly.
They had no idea.
Never said a word.
Like, what?
These kids is kind of
You have two parents. Like, use them wisely.
I think they do use them wisely. That's their.
That's not wisely. That is
manipulative.
Yes.
Manipulatively.
Yes. Exactly. These
manipulatively. Who? I said it. Sorry.
These kids are big manipulators.
They definitely
scheming. So, my next question: what type of co-parenting experiences were modeled for you growing up? Like, what did you see?
Nothing.
And what effect did that have on you?
So most of the people in my life were single parents. Except for my grandparents. And that co-parenting relationship was very not a co-parenting relationship. It was very grandma heavy because of the era. My grandparents were both born in the 40s. So it was very like my grandma did all the things. Like my grandfather still will like sit in the other room and watch westerns while we're playing games to this day. He has gotten a little bit more involved, but so yeah, that's how that was. And then when I think about like my direct, like my parents, it was like a tense. It was tense. After they split up, it was a mess before they was a mess. We won't even go into that. But after they split up, it was very tense between them. It remains tense
to this day.
Birthday parties for the kids, God, it's just like I will put all their tea out there, but it's funny because like one year, I think it was my nephew's birthday party, and I think my dad kind of wants to bury the hatchet and move forward. With my mom, talk about hold a grudge. My mama can hold a grudge, honey. So she don't talk to him. She don't speak. She don't look in his direction. She acts like he does not exist. And one year at my nephew's birthday party, like, mind you, it's like at a bouncy place or whatever. So there's a big table and everybody's at the table, but they're like, my mama's way over there and they're not interacting with each other. And so my mom gets up to like go check on the kids or whatever. And my dad goes, how your mama been doing? And I was just like,
she's right there.
She was just right there. Like, if you want to know how she was doing, you could have asked her. But he knows he better not dare ask her a thing.
Oh, my God.
And so that relationship has always been tense, to say the least. Like, you can feel it.
I remember being there at one point.
When my daughter was born, my daddy came to the hospital, and it was just awkward. And I was like, man, why do I gotta feel awkward? I just pushed this baby out.
Yes.
And y'all want to come up in here and be weird. It's really mostly my mom. My daddy be trying to like make jokes and stuff, or like She don't want to talk to that fool. So, yeah, they never really co-parented. There were times where I would, like, go with my dad, but it was not a whole lot of communication, a lot of talking between the two of them. Mm-hmm. And that was just how it was. And I was like, dang.
So, how would you say that has shaped you as a parent and how you co-parent?
I think it shaped me in the beginning. Well, I think it had an impact in the beginning when I first became a parent, because I think that was what really made me be like, I have to make this work. I have to make this relationship work, because I don't want to be like those, divorced parents or like, I don't want that. I don't want it to be weird. I don't want my kids to like grow up depending on one person's income or whatever. That has always, money is a stressor for me. But, yeah, so that was the thing. But I think, like, once I moved into co-parenting, I also wanted to, like, really make this effort to communicate and, like, address all the things and talk about it and, like, be the poster co-parents and, like, really make it awesome and, like, let's do this. And he, honey, was like, no. This is going to be difficult. So now what?
So all of that kickback.
Yeah. And then I was just like, okay, well, you want to be like my parents? Let's be like my parents. Don't say nothing to me. Text me when you outside. I'll bring her out.
Let's go through that.
I don't want to hear no words from you. Yeah. You want to play games? Let's play.
I definitely remember going through different phases of a co-parent.
Girl.
So I remember being, having those tense relationships. Like, I'm not saying nothing to him. Like, I even went through a phase of, I'm not even asking him to watch this kid while I'm at work or school or whatever.
I'm not asking him for nothing.
Yes, the pride level sky high.
I can do this by myself.
Yes. And I think that definitely came from me watching my mom raise us by herself. My dad was alive until I was 19. And so I remember, like, we would call him and say, like, maybe we needed some money for a field trip or some clothes, back to school shopping or something like that. His thing was always, I'll see what I can do. We hated calling him. And sometimes my mom would just be like, I don't have it. Like, you can call your dad and ask your dad. Or, like, even feeling like pressure. Like, call your dad and ask him. Because this $20 for 4 kids is not going to cut it.
Honey.
It's not going to cut it. And I remember, like, calling and hoping that nobody even answers the phone. Because it would always be my grandma answering the phone, and I'd just be like, gosh, she don't like my mama.
Oh, God. That's the worst.
I don't think she really even likes us. And then I got asked to speak to my dad. We're like, well, my dad can't answer the phone. So it was definitely like that type of relationship. I remember my dad being there for my graduation. I also remember him walking out before I walked across the stage. That is a vivid memory of mine. I doubt that he even saw me walk. I was also 9 months pregnant at that time.
Did he know you were pregnant?
Yes. I mean, he seemed...
I didn't know if you saw him ever.
Yeah. And so he came to the hospital when I had my oldest son. He wasn't here to see my second son born, but like I remember that I have pictures of that, and so I mean that's a good memory. As far as like him communicating with my mom just kind of like brushed him off like whatever. Yeah. And I think I probably saw him like try to flirt with her a time or two. I don't remember them being together at all. Like I was very young. There was just a lot of drama in that. And so my mom tells me stories now, and I think it's hilarious. I mean, it had to have been traumatic and very hurtful for her, but like we can have conversations and laugh about it now.
Yeah.
And so like, that's what I saw, like, a lot of womanizing and, you know, definitely those gender roles, you know, my uncles and things like that, like, they go out and work. My aunts are at the house. Like, my aunts work too. But, you know, basically being the homemaker.
Yeah, they were expected to be the homemaker.
Mm-hmm.
These kids are screaming. Pardon us.
And I think that, you know, watching my mom struggle and be such a hardworking single mom, and also missing out on certain things from our childhood, that definitely created me to be, and I call myself, I'm intense.
What do you mean when you say that, friend?
I'm intense in general, but like as a parent, I like to be on it. But also, I go through phases where I'm like, whatever. Y'all just kids, do what you want.
Yeah.
But intense in the manner that, like, being on top of academics, being there for whatever they're involved in. And so, like, showing up, supporting my kids, making sure that they feel supported emotionally, physically, financially, whatever.
So do you feel like you hold yourself to a attainable standard?
Sometimes, no. For the most part, yes. But I'll give you an example of how serious I am about this thing. I remember being at work one day, and I forgot to put muffins for moms on my calendar. And I'm at work, and I sit down at my desk, and I'm like, gosh, what time is it? And I might have seen the email. Something triggered in my mind, and I was like, oh my God, I miss muffins from, and when I tell you I laid on the desk and boo-hooed, I miss muffins for mom. I think my kid was probably in the 2nd or 3rd grade. Also, if I have shared that we got donuts for dads, can you be there? And I haven't received a response. Like, I'm that parent. Like, I'm reaching out to grandparents, godfather, whoever. Can you make sure you're there? Because I'm not able to. I have been to Donuts for Dads. And then, you know, like, my kid's godfather showing up too. And so that was a relief. But, like, just being there.
So do you feel like you being a single parent has anything to do with your expectations of yourself to perform at?
Like, I gotta be top notch because I want my kids to remember me this way. I want my kids to know, like, my mom didn't miss any games unless it was like something serious. So I can probably still count on my hand the amount of games that I've missed. You know, maybe for a wedding or something like that.
Right.
Like, I'm out of town. But yeah, it's very, very important for me. And one of the reasons is because my mom was not able to be there for me. So I also, like, missed out on certain opportunities because my mom got to work. And I'm not going to be able to do that because there's nobody else to help her out.
Right.
And be able to, like, provide transportation or different things like that. And so,
oh God, the transportation.
I go overboard. I go above and beyond for my kids. My mom
at
did
what
too.
cost, friend?
My mom did too, but in a different way.
Right.
At the cost of everything, because I'll be up late at night helping them on projects. Like, nope, you didn't do it right.
Girl.
You can't give minimal effort. This is what your teacher's looking for. This is what the outline says. And then they come back and say, hey, Mom, my teacher liked what you named my science project, and I got a 95. And I was like, okay, I got a 95.
Period. I got an A.
But I mean, like, you know, even some years, like, doing all the, like, the fancy Valentines and different things like that. But there have definitely been years where y'all just taking these cards and this candy. So I feel like I kind of go back and forth depending on my kids' moods too. Like, what would you like?
Right.
What do you want? Because I don't necessarily have to do all this.
Right.
And my kids will let me know that, especially my oldest. You're doing too much, Mom.
Yeah, it sounds like you've gotten to a point where you understand the balance, but it's not necessarily dictated by your feelings. Look at me therapizing, my friend. It's dictated by what you perceive their need to be at the time. And I mean, it's important to consider your kids' needs.
Right.
And this is, I'm not coming at you as though I am.
I don't feel away.
Perfect. Because I do the most.
Right. We know each other personally. You do. Well, that's awesome. But your kids are also younger. And I did realize that when they were younger, we went, and I say we because I feel like now, I have become like more like chill. And their dads are over the top as far as materialistic type things. My kids get whatever they want. Sometimes it's me, but most of the time it's their dad. And I be like, I cannot believe you spent that amount of money. I don't think my son knows where his AirPods are right now. And he bought those with his Christmas money.
Wow.
And he's sitting over here with my little old school wired headphones, and he needs to give them back.
That's how these kids do. They ride.
Yeah, I bet.
But I do think that the reason that I flushed all that out of you was because I feel that it's good to acknowledge that, like, you can be doing well as a single parent, but there's still, for a lot of us, that thing in the back of your mind that makes you feel like you failed.
Yeah.
Right? And so we spend a lot of time overcompensating because of that.
All the time.
Yeah. And so that's why having like a healthy co-parenting relationship is helpful, because you have someone else there to help with the load. Because for those single parents who, you know, don't necessarily have that other person helping them out, or anyone helping them out, any support system, they end up running themselves into the ground.
I've definitely run myself into the ground.
There have been times in life where I've been like, why? At 4:00 in the morning, why am I still up doing this thing? This is ridiculous.
My brother called me yesterday, my older brother, and, you know, he randomly calls me, and so we're just having a conversation, and, you know, he always says, you know, like, you're such a great mom, I'm so proud of you, and he always brings stuff back to my memory because I forget. And so he'll say things like, yesterday he said, I remember like watching you work 2 jobs and go to school, come home, take care of the kids, do this and do that. And he was like, oh my God, you know, like, she's on it. And so it meant a lot to hear him say that. And I think, you know, even to be noticed.
Right.
Or acknowledged for, I mean, it's, you know, I'm doing what I have to do. And that's the type of person that I am. Like, I'm going to do what I have to do at any and all costs. But to get that thank you. And I'm not even raising his kids. You know, I have definitely helped him with his kids. But for someone to say, you know, I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Those words of affirmation.
Yeah, they mean a lot to you.
It's not even at the top of my list, though.
Sure, yeah.
It's like number 3. 4. 3.
Yeah, mine's 4. Gifts is the very bottom of the barrel for me.
Personal touch. At the bottom. But I think it's great to see how, from generation to generation, we are evolving as parents, now as co-parents.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a beautiful thing, and I do feel blessed that to have co-parenting partners who, you know, we have evolved together.
That is key.
We have definitely evolved together. Like, we still have our moments. They just aren't as bad as they were before. And, you know, like, we can laugh about it now. We can sit down and have conversations with our kids, in front of our kids. We can, you know, have these individual conversations and say, hey, I noticed this about our kid? Like, what are your thoughts? What should we do?
Yeah.
Or he has communicated this to me. Can you tell me more about like what has happened? Why he may be feeling or thinking this? And so
look at y'all.
I feel like those conversations sometimes they get tense, and so like the other parent will get, me included sometimes, like we'll get defensive, like what?
What you mean?
What they say? But you know, like I'm definitely like, I don't want to be defensive.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's talk about it. Let's come to some
Lean
type
into
of
it. What is Brene Brown?
Yeah.
Don't armor up.
Yeah. Let's talk about it. My kids are like, oh God, Mom, it's okay. I don't want to talk about it. That's so funny too. I'm just getting talkative. So my son, he had his first football game of the season last week, and they lost. And so when I picked him up, he just got in the car and he had this mean, mad face on. And you know, of course, I'm like, hey, Jay. Hey, Mom. And so he puts his stuff in. He gets in. And I asked him, you know, what was the final score? Because, you know, we're having to watch on camera. But, you know, he told me, and I said, you don't want to talk about it? And he was like, no. An hour later, when I'm busy, he starts going on and on and on. And I'm just like, I'm walking and listening and talking at the same time. And so I didn't sit down to like give him my undivided attention. But I did like acknowledge and recognize.
That's sweet of you, because I'll be like, I'm tired. My kids always want to talk when I'm ready to go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Get out.
So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. What was your other question for you?
I think my other question was, we kind of tackled that one. Okay. Like, what would we like for our children to take away from our co-parenting relationship? Like what they're seeing.
I think the hard, like, co-parenting, especially when you're in different houses, one of the things that like was the most difficult for me to grasp is that I can't control what happens to the other person's house. Once you embrace that and accept that that you can't control somebody else's house, it's like a weight off of your shoulders. It is. You can't control what's happening there, so you just do the best you can here. And then the rest just has to fall into place.
And the kids will know and understand and recognize, like, okay, like I feel this emotion here.
Right.
I feel another emotion here.
Right.
And so, even though sometimes one house may have like more freedom or just be like more laxed as far as like you can do whatever you want to do, and then over here you have chores and you have some type of routine, and that happens, and that might go back and forth. So at one point you may have more routine and structure in one place and not have it in the other, and then it might flip.
Yeah. Child, we're not gonna get into my struggle. We'll talk about that in another episode. But yeah, that was when I was like, oh, like the light shined on me. Was when I was like, okay, I can't control everything.
Control. Ooh. Now, when y'all
that is my struggle.
Yes. We have some treats for you guys this month, so we may be having some guests on here that can speak to my issues with control as a parent.
Ooh, I'm excited.
Okay.
Yeah, and also what I wanted to share, my co-parenting relationship, because you spoke about like checking yourself and being introspective, my co-parenting relationship was the primary reason that I went to therapy. Because I was like, y'all want me to tell y'all? Want me to tell them? I had a dream that I was hiking with my children's father. And on the hike, he was in front of me. And I was following him. On the hike, he fell. And in my dream, I reached my hand out to help him up. And when he reached back, I jerked my hand back and I kicked him multiple times. And when I woke up from that dream, I said, I need to call a therapist.
What did you recognize or feel or think in that moment? Like, oh, there's
in
an
the
anger
dream
here.
Yeah, I was like, obviously I am upset with this man. And I need somebody to help me process this,
Right,
because I'm having a difficult time balancing my emotions and trying to co-parent at the same time.
girl, it's so hard.
It is. You hit it on the head earlier. Like, it requires a level of maturity to be able to co-parent.
I think that I really evolved when I did like start checking myself, being responsible and accountable. I'm not always right.
Right.
Having a different level of respect for them, because I feel like at one point I was like, I don't even respect y'all. I'm laughing about it now,
Right.
but I can imagine, that's how they felt, because there would be times where I'm gonna talk to you any kind of way, because now you done pissed me off, or maybe you have disrespected me in some way,
Right.
or you done said something. Maybe that's your truth, but that's not what the situation is. And so
And what
at that
you're
point,
not gonna do.
yeah. So at that point, I'm going all in, cause you got me messed up.
My friend, don't get her messed up.
Please don't. Cause I go from the nice me, and the other me is two different ends
Whip her knife
of.
out and slit ya.
You feel me? Two different ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I really had to check myself and say, hey, like, these are human beings. They deserve respect also.
I'm sure.
I really did, because I'm like,
it's hard
right.
especially when you're in that place.
I'm like, okay, I ain't have to say all that. And
Okay.
it also, I ain't gonna say it helped, but it helped me become more self-aware when they were like, you said such and such, and basically letting me know I don't appreciate what you said. Like, that was hurtful.
Communication is important.
But, when I was in it and I was in the moment, I was saying it to be hurtful. I wanted them to hurt. And so, when you let go of all that bitterness, regardless of whether you got an apology or not, when you forgive, we don't forget, but you forgive, let go, and move on. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing.
And it's helpful for the children. These children, I wonder if y'all can hear these children screaming in the background, because they are having a time.
They are having a ball.
Well, yeah. I think one thing, too, that I will say to finish this out about co-parenting is my child was unplanned, but I wish that I had more serious conversations with people that I was sexually involved with about the types of parents that they wanted to be, because that's important. Because if you don't, then you end up with a co-parent who has completely different parenting ideals, parenting values than you do. Even though you feel like we're from, similar places, we have similar backgrounds, we probably want the same thing. And then next thing you know.
Girl. So when you are dating, so just kind of tying in last month into this month.
Right.
You definitely want to look at those things.
Yeah, be purposeful. Ask questions.
Girl. And at some point, I did hear someone say one time, like, if you feel like you want to be serious with this person, you're going to have to go ahead and include the kids. So you want to see, like, how they interact with their kids and also how they interact with yours.
Mm-hmm.
Like seeing them go through different emotions and also dealing with children.
Right.
Because that'll be a red flag for me quick.
Period.
The level of patience,
Yeah.
how you speak to your kids. Do you listen to them?
How you perceive how I speak to my kids.
Yeah. Yes.
Because one, these kids are spoiled. Two, my kids will say stuff some of the time that I feel like other people perceive as like out of pocket or disrespectful or whatever. But there's some instances where I'll just allow them to express their emotions without being like, you shut your mouth when you're talking to me.
Right.
So all of that stuff has to be in alignment if we're potentially entering in this thing together.
Ooh, child.
There's so much to consider.
So I think this month is going to be great. I'm looking forward to all of this co-parenting talk, and we really hope that you guys are able to take something away from it.
Right.
We're not perfect parents. We're not perfect co-parents.
We're not perfect people.
But we just want to share some of our experiences in hopes that it'll be a light to you.
Right. And everything is not coming from us this month. So it's not just Lisa and Lonie's co-parenting experiences.
We're going to have some other perspectives.
Yeah.
Some different situations that may be more relatable.
Yeah. So I look forward to the conversation.
Me too. Bye, guys.
Bye. Thanks for watching.